독일 것도 거의 많이 기억. That's my thingy.
It's debit cards. You can start to learn how to use money, how to spend money, and also how to save money. Your kids can download the app. You can download the app. I think you're really gonna like this.
So what do you...
So Greenlight is really the debit card that could be given to your child. That means that your child learn how to actually manage one's economy, right? So you're actually sick and tired of actually, being blocked with monthly allowances. You just sometimes wonder how my child uses one's own budget for a month, right? Or a week. Then this type of bookkeeping should be learned at early age. The Greenlights allows both the parents and the children to download this application. So it's really like the monetary transactions that could be monitored from both the sides. When your kid would actually have almost like no changes or no savings at all, you can actually, wire more money into the account immediately. Or you can actually overview every little ups and downs happening in the bank account of your child. For instance, your child would keep the change by actually leaving 20 cents. This would be notifiable. And your child would actually withdraw $5. And she could actually leave a note. He or she could leave a note. Oh, this is, for my friend Sarah's birthday gift. Because I have to attend her party. Her B-Day party like this. And this type of immediate interaction is possible. And you can actually, have a full understanding of what's happening on her account. Isn't that amazing? So this is really the financial transaction for a debit card issued to your child. So your child whose name would be like Amy. If Amy has a debit card, this can actually allow her to withdraw money or even deposit money. So how she would control her monthly or weekly allowances can be seen thoroughly. This is really a great application that would actually give your child a sense of economy and budget management. Early on, one should actually learn how to keep the bucks, right? Isn't that one? Instead of cook the bucks, right? We should actually learn how to keep the books. Bookkeeping, keep the box rather than cook the box, right? So Greenlight is really a budget managing application. You think I'm an idiot? It's a debit card. It's a really...
In his back, and his limit on the movement of his legs. And these conditions have deteriorated over the last few weeks. So on Friday, the last bit of information that we got was that his blood test shows abnormal level of potassium, which is associated with imminent kidney failure and heart issues. So that's what prompted us to call everybody and pull all our strings for expressions of concern and support for him.
This is to the point where advocates like yourself and others are raising the real possibility that he could die. If Navalny were to die in prison, should Vladimir Putin be punished?
We are making all efforts for this not to happen. I'm not yet ready to entertain this thought of his death. I don't think that's appropriate at this time.
Do you think Russia is entertaining it? Do you think Russia is taking this seriously? And what do you think Russia wants the outcome to be here?
Over the last few months, there has been a big crackdown on our organization. Alexei Navalny, after he returned to Russia, was unlawfully incarcerated. Now his treatment and denial of medical care amounts to torture. Our organization, Anti-Corruption Foundation, there has been a motion in the last few days to deem it extremist. So it will be on the level of ISIS in Russia, with our employees and supporters potentially facing criminal persecution. So Putin is really clamping down on Russian Russian opposition, and
I want to actually
that's
skip
what
this
has
one.
been
I
happening.
understand that. But the
Of
thing is,
course,
I haven't actually
have
started at the
the
very beginning.
escalation of tensions,
This circumstances that I don't know particularly
internationally.
well.
Parliamentary elections
But I understand
coming
his
up in
message. The given message
September.
was
His
taken
ratings
for
are
sure.
falling. So this situation is really approaching a political crisis for Russian authorities.
Vladimir, thank you so much for being with us. We are, of course, wishing the best when it comes to the health of your colleague, Alexei Navalny.
Thank you.
So the Biden administration making a big announcement today on vaccines and who is now eligible. The Surgeon General is here next.
It's really easy. So no, this Vladimir is really part of the anti-corruption organization, right? So he is a close ally and a colleague of Navalny, right? But Navalny, as you probably know, as of now, he has been imprisoned in the political prison facility, which is really notorious for mishandling and human rights abuse, right? So he was actually really close to being dead. He's not really dead, but he's gradually dying according to many different sources, right? So he, following from my husband's tweet, I learned that he is, transported to different facility to at least be, connected to, like serums that would actually deliver the critical minerals and vitamins to his body, because he's been on hunger strike, and he could not actually, take in any substance that might eventually nurture him, right? And he is actually being mishandled by Russian authorities either. So, given all the circumstances, he is really in a severe condition and he is dying practically. So the problem is, in the White House finally actually makes an announcement saying that Russia will pay the price. Russia will bear the brunt of it in the case of Navalny's death. If Navalny dies, Russia will not actually get off the hook without paying the price. That's what has been said. So right now, his potassium level has been checked, but it's really on the borderline of being normal as of now. Yeah, because the potassium level is very much important, because it is closely connected to cardiovascular conditions, and if potassium is severely lacking, then this could completely affect one's kidney. Kidney failure is associated with the level of potassium, right? That's what has been said. But I know right now, his potassium level is just unchecked, and it's really on the border of being normal, thankfully. But he's really in a dire conditions. That's very dire conditions. That's really the reason he's placed in a different facility where emergent medical resuscitation could be done, right? Through shots and the serums. Essentials are being transported into his body to keep his life going. So in that way, he would not die. This really confirms, Russia's desperation, because the Russian authorities are right now being challenged. Their transparency and their integrity already actually hit the bottom law. As of now, the all eyes are on the very fate of Navalny. So the people are saying that this would never go easy on anyone. So Russian authorities are really actually being troubled by the recent development, and they feel the pinch right now. It's true, right? That's the fact that he has been treated differently in this way was just confirmed by very drastic circumstances affecting Navalny. Then they feel the pinch because this has been confirmed. Otherwise, Navalny would be left alone. But now he is indeed transported to a different facility where medical aid can be given to him. in the form of mineral shots and vitamin serums. This reflects, Russia really at all costs wants to continue the life of Navalny to avoid any consequential events. Then this reflects their desperation for sure. So potassium level is very important because the potassium level has something to do with the heart conditions. If potassium were to go below the level, this would, induce a kidney failure. Kidney failure and a multiple Organversagen ist ganz, ganz schwer. Besonders Nieren. Nieren wird total ruiniert werden, auf das Niveau Potassiums sehr niedriger wird. Das ist da. Ja, ihr habt das gehört. Ja. So, what the reaction, Brianna Kaler actually asked, what is really the reaction from Russia? Russia is entertaining this idea, or or they're really desperate about what would be the outcome that Russia wants to see? But the thing is, in the wake of this, reactions, Russia is pretty much serious about the continuation of Navalny's life, right? Because there would be nothing they could gain. Then this would only, worsen the existing conditions. So at least they wanted to avoid it would be, at least sustained to that Russia wants to avoid the very worst, right? And that way they can have more maneuvers. Because, if Navalny would be dead, this is the end of their leverage. Then they would be, again, portrayed as a dictatorial nation, and there would be lots of backlash from the international community. Then, so far, the already existing conspiracies could be, confirmed, right? Then that would be the worst. So, at least the Russian authorities are under pressure, that much is clear. But, to what extent they would actually feel the urgency of this, unclear. But at least, the fact that he has been treated differently, that much has been known, right? I really wish I could see my husband. Because I had to go to the bathroom. It's really the reason why. Otherwise, I'm really fine.
Seems to me an achievable goal at a minimum cost. I think in some of the places you mentioned, like Iraq and Afghanistan, we overreached. We try to transform these societies. We try to take on too much. I think the danger now, Joe, is in some of these places we may end up underreaching. Essentially saying, well, we can't bring peace, so we can't bring a military victory. But as you say, that was never the definition of success. We need to have modest definitions of success with modest means, but towards those ends. And I think in those ways, if we're modest in our aims and we're modest in our means, I do think we can avoid the worst. And in some of these situations, that might be enough.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I was opposed to the increase in troops when the generals were pushing Barack Obama to send a large number of troops into Afghanistan, because they said it's not going to bring us the results that the generals are promising. And it hasn't. The generals have overpromised for 20 years. But Dexter, as the old saying goes, and it actually happens to be one of the final lines in Tenet, sometimes the most important thing to achieve is, or sometimes the most important thing is the bomb that doesn't go off, the tragedy that is averted. And in this case, that may have been what our troops had been doing in Afghanistan all these years.
Yeah, I really, you mentioned 2011 at the top there, and that was, of course, when President Obama decided to go to zero in Iraq, and it was, they're very different countries, very different, but that's what I'm worried about. If you remember there, we went to zero, we pulled out, we came home, and then within 3 years, we had ISIS taking over, a third of Iraq, and I hope that doesn't happen here in Afghanistan, where we're basically like opening the door to the Taliban.
So, I really actually like the view of Dexter Flicken from the New Yorker. It's true. But, let me actually, go back to what Joe Scarborough mentioned. So, once I actually turned this on, there was a person that I don't know. And I think, he's a security expert. I mean, I kind of actually recognize him, but I cannot actually, guarantee his identity. So, I would rather actually do not make any shot in the dark. That's bad. But in certain reasons, there are certain, overreached or overpromised issue. The United States is trying to bring democracy to a certain reason without context, without contextual understanding. Those are really far-flung sentiments at the time. So that actually created more of a, far-fetched efforts, right? It's really the case. That has been the truth for many years, right? So he was really, this security advisor was really great. Not really great, but this security expert feels very happy, relatively happy about this decision by Joe Biden. Because pulling off 2,500 U.S. Afghanistan troops would be the best decision. Because, we need to at least, within the limited scope, possibly achieve the best goal. Sometimes there are overreacted or exaggerated aims and ambitions that could eventually remain unfulfilled. However, in this case, in certain regions, there are certain problems with the underreach. There could be, the pitfall called underreach. People would like to avoid any failures. They would like to downscale or even minimize the possible achievement they could ever obtain or acquire. And this could also be the problem too. But as we actually have our 2 feet solidly on the ground, with modest aims and ambitions, then, certain positive consequences can be obtainable. That's really his projection. So unlike, the past failures based upon the wrongful calculations and rosy-tinted optimism that actually pushed the United States to war without actually having a practical understanding or strategic calculations, that actually remained fruitless. But this time, with modest approach and the modest aims, that could possibly bring about real substantial success in the region. So, Joe Biden's decision to pull out all 2,500 or 2,500 equal number. You can say that 2,500 or 2,500 U.S. troops out of Afghanistan, then this would be very much obtainable. Meanwhile, there could be this and that of a security reinforcement. So then that kind of assessment would be feasible. By the way, by the September 11th, 2021, no ground troops would be on the ground in Afghanistan. No boots are on the ground in Afghanistan. That's what has been said. This is really the gradual progress. Not once every soldier would be taken out of the region, but gradually. But by the time of September 11th, 2021, there will be no one single boot. Right? There will be no boots. Right? Let me actually go back to the very important point. This is the real thingy. Joe Scarborough, he actually mentioned that he was really behind the notion of President Obama's decision to pull out every possible U.S. ground troop in Iraq back then, leaving no single pair of boots on the ground. That was really the notion. Because sometimes, the bomb that didn't go off, that didn't get detonated, that would be the best one. Because that helped the people to avoid the worst. In his own words, the bomb that doesn't go off is the worst avoided. It is the best. Because at the time, even actually President Obama was very much pushed by his generals asking to increase more troops, increase the number of troops in the region. I don't really need to think twice about it. It's not at all difficult for me to actually say anything. It's really fine. But what I don't like is this type of harassment. Because you know what? Those assholes who had no job actually staying upstairs are constantly annoying me. That's really the fucking problem. No, again, you hear this, everything is being recorded. I don't really need to actually make any type of efforts to speak in English. But, just like the rest of people I'm actually speaking, you hear these people, they're actually speaking in similar things, not really in a different way. At the time when President Obama was also being pushed by generals who actually have a deep understanding of the situation happening in Iraq. They actually asked for more military forces in Iraq because they really believed that only surge in the number of troops can truly secure the regional peace. That was really the argument that eventually pressurized President Obama. But President Obama was the person who really wanted to pursue a pacifist approach. He thought that America's detachment was really the best by not actually sending more troops to the region, because America was already deeply engrossed with the domestic problems like the economic disaster or many different unemployment issues, and because America's economy was literally bombed with the financial failure earlier in his presidency. And America was still reeling from that financial disaster. That was really the case. But, I really actually think that Dexter Flicken's idea was a very interesting, because he worried about this type of a vacuum created by the Obama administration eventually turned Syria into a safe haven for terrorists. That was really the reason we witnessed, ever more growing insurgents of the ISIS. That turned out to be almost paradise for the ISIS. They actually, literally enjoyed this type of a lack of a power that might actually hold the region together, because America as a juggernaut was supposed to be there to at least sustain this peace, no matter how fragile that might be. But ever since President Obama literally withdrew all the U.S. troops in the region, then there was a huge vacuum. There was an absence of a juggernaut holding them together. This absence of a mainstay for peace created such a playground for ISIS that eventually provided terrain for them to grow faster than ever before. So, Dexter Flicken, he's more like, pragmatist. Because he really believes that this could actually be pretty much dangerous, but he hopes that this would not be the case. He literally, and have his fingers crossed, hopefully this Joe Biden's decision would not be a sequel to the ISIS, hopefully, right? Because sometimes it's really great that we actually, try to seek solutions in the realm of peace talks or diplomacy, instead of wielding swords or firing guns. We might actually seek after possible venues leading us to peace with the sustainability. That's a much more great. That's literally greater than ever anything before we've ever seen, right? It's really, that was a fine. But I don't want to do this because there was because I kind of actually called the name of these people. It's a really